Hey guys, hi everyone, good morning. Hello, hi everyone, good morning guys. I hope I'm audible as people, am I? I think I should be audible, right? Hey, good morning Anurag. Hello Sadi. Hi Vasu. Hello Soumya. Hi Arka, good morning. Walaikum salam, Tech Imam. Good morning Pradnya. Good morning Kavya. Good morning everyone. Walaikum salam Najam. Good morning Said. Good morning. So we will start in few minutes. Let's wait for rest of the people to join. And accordingly, we are going to start our class. Walaikum salam, Hania. I can see you have joined after a long time. Walaikum salam, Zafar. Good morning, everyone. So today we are going to discuss few very important fundamentals of JavaScript that is related to, especially related to object-oriented programming. Vasu is asking how to build a logic and build a full web page. We will talk about that in today's class in between sometime. I will, maybe talk about that for 5 to 10 minutes. Remind me in the second part of the session, Basu. Okay. Good morning, Sagar. Good morning. Good morning. So, someone please do one thing: put a message in the WhatsApp group and ask everyone to join as soon as they can, so that we can start with our session finally. So, even let me do that on my cell side. So, let me talk to the. Let me put a message. Allow me a second only, and then we will start. Okay. Perfect. Good morning, Ashu. Good morning, Smita. Good morning. Perfect. I guess we can start. Good morning, Ankit. Good morning. So I have already shared my screen. Please give me a quick confirmation whether my screen is visible, I am audible, and my video is also completely clear. Please give me confirmation for that, and then we are going to immediately start our class. Please make sure that you like this video already and you share it within your network right now, so that more people will join this class, and then we can move ahead with our session. It's visible, perfect, great, all good, great. Okay, see, in our last class, even if you have not seen, if you have not watched last class, it's completely okay. Why? Because today we are going to have a complete separate discussion. You just need to have an idea of functions and objects. That's it, nothing else. Good morning, Anil. So if I remember correctly, in our previous class we had a discussion around asynchronous JavaScript. We try to understand how asynchronous JavaScript works behind the hood. We talked about callback queue, we talked about web APIs, we talked about event loop, and we talked about all the things in our event loop, right? And also, with respect to asynchronous JavaScript, finally we started a topic called as promises.js, right? Promise over here. And then we try to understand small things, a little bit introduction about promises. And I said that we are going to continue the discussion on promises in our next class, but unfortunately, I would not say unfortunately, I would say fortunately, in today's class we will not actually start our discussion on promises. We will not even discuss promise in today's class. We will discuss something different. If you can remember the previous class syntax, that whenever we define a promise, you actually saw a particular keyword we using called as new, right? And maybe in another cases as well, we might have used new in lot of places. So our today's agenda will be to understand what this new keyword is, and also in our previous sessions, especially related to our arrays, we once discussed prototypes. We discussed objects prototypes, right? We try to understand what prototypes actually mean, right? Although we did not, but we gave a little bit of introduction to what prototypes mean, and that's what we are going to discuss in today's class as well. So today's class is going to be a very important class. Very important class. Why? Because we are going to discuss fundamentals of JavaScript again. Okay. And what is that about? That is actually about our JavaScript object oriented programming. Where does this object oriented programming come into picture? See, when we talk about object oriented programming, it can be a complete separate course. It can be of 10 classes at least. and we will not go that deep into object oriented programming. My agenda is to just to give you an idea of what new keyword is, what factory functions mean, what prototypes are, maybe what a class structure is. That's it, nothing else. Okay, so please make sure that you stay up till end. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in between, but make sure you stay here up till end. So let me open my VS Code, and please let me know whether VS Code is visible to all of you or not. If not, please let me know quickly. So let me try to create a file with the name of index.js. Let's understand what object-oriented programming mean. What do you think, guys, object-oriented programming mean? Like if anyone asks you, hey, explain object-oriented programming, and this is one of the very important interview question as well. There are four pillars of object-oriented programming: polymorphism, inheritance, right? We have abstraction, and we have something else as well, right? Encapsulation. So we need to understand not all of those 4 points, but we need to somehow understand what object-oriented programming actually mean. Until now, whenever we try to solve a problem, whenever we try to create a design, whenever we try to write a logic for any particular problem, we always implemented functional programming, procedural programming, right? But if we try to put each and every bit of logic and represent everything in terms of objects, whenever we write a solution, we always have discussed that whenever we talk about programming, programming is always about writing algorithms, writing solutions to a particular problem. And to find a particular solution, if we try to approach the solution with the help of objects, the programming, the paradigm that we follow is called object oriented programming. And trust me, I'm not here to teach you object oriented programming. I'm here to teach you something else. I think there might be some network issues from my side. Am I completely audible, or is there any lag? There is some network lag, I guess, that's getting on my screen. Please let me know. Please give me a confirmation. I think it should be audible. Perfect. Great. Okay. So what I was trying to make you understand that this class is not actually about object oriented programming, but I will try to actually relate everything with object oriented programming. Okay. And there are a few extra things that we need to discuss, because it's not about, as I said, object oriented programming. It's about new keyword, it's about constructors, it's about prototypes, it's about factory functions. That's what we are going to discuss. But unfortunately, I can see only 22 people here, so I'm not sure why rest of the people are. So please ask, put a message from your side, put 2 3 people message in the WhatsApp group, and ask your friends to join as soon as they can. Okay, let's start. Let's create a problem. What I want to do is I want to create users. User 100, user 1,000, doesn't matter. But I want to create multiple users. That's what my intention is. And let's suppose my first user is, so I will create my first user as constant user. Somehow my keyboard is not working today very well. So this is my user one, and it's an object. So let's say name is equals to John, and let's say age is equals to 30. Even let me create one other key over there called as let me name this first name. So this is going to be my first name, okay, and this is going to be my second name or last name. So last name is equals to what? Last name is equals to whatever, right? So let's say John Smith. That's what usually we get, right? So John Smith, age like this. Is this an object? Of course, it's an object, right? And if I try to access any of its property, I can absolutely access its property. But is this object oriented programming? I have already created an object. So can we say it's an object oriented programming? We can, but I don't. We can, but I don't. Why? Because I say object oriented programming is when you try to impose and include methods in objects as well. So you will create some of the keys over there, and that key is going to actually perform a logic, perform a method. So what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to create a, let's suppose, a particular file, a particular method called as get full name. Let's suppose something like this, in which what it's going to do, it's simply going to create a function. My intention is that this key will simply represent a particular function like this. So function like this, like this, like this, like this. And what it does is it simply returns. What does it return? It returns user one dot first name plus string empty, and then plus it's going to simply return user two dot last name. Okay, even let me do one thing. Let me try to write this whole JavaScript as a part of a web application. So let me go write index.html. And inside this index.html, I'm simply going to put a script tag like this. Okay, and not like this actually script with an src. So let me try to implement src dot slash index.js. Done. And let's go live with this particular file. So let me go here, refresh my page, divide my screen into two parts, and this is going to be like this. So let me try to go live with this. Okay, so if I go live with this particular code, please pay close attention. Good morning Usman, good morning Kulmant, good morning Shubham, good morning everyone, good morning Shweta. So let me try to put an h1 tag, and this h1 tag will simply say oops, done, nothing else. Okay, now let's open up our inspect, because we know over here inside our browser we can write our JavaScript in console. And this is what my JavaScript file looks like. What I want to do is I want to access a particular method. So I can simply go write user1 dot, let's suppose age, and if I click enter, it gives me 30. And even if I try to access a particular method, I can simply say user1 dot get full name. Now, when I say get full name, and if I call this, you can clearly see there's an error. What's an error? Let's try to find that. So it says user2 is not defined, but I have not. Okay, so here I have write user1. So now if I call the same method, you can clearly see it gives me John Smith. Now, is this object oriented programming? Of course, yes. It is an object oriented programming. Why? Because you need to understand that the object that I have created, it does not just include properties, but it includes methods within as well. And you can also understand there's one very important pillar of the object oriented programming called as encapsulation. What does encapsulation mean? What does encapsulation keyword mean? Encapsulation keyword mean putting, gathering everything at one place. So you simply put all of the things at one place. So you put simply your function over here, you put your integer values over here, you put everything at one place. So you are encapsulating the logic at one place. That's what encapsulation means. And what does abstraction mean? Abstraction simply mean that you are hiding the complexities of a particular program from the external world. For example, in this particular case, if you see, when I say user1 dot get full name, does user over here worry what this get full name method is actually behind the scenes? No. So you cannot see a particular function over it. You just have to access a method and it works for you. So this is what we mean by hiding the complexities. But as I said, it's not about object-oriented programming, it's about something else. So leave all those things aside as of now. So I have created a particular object over there in which I have implemented a simple key value pairs, but I have also put a method as well. Can I put some other method? Let's suppose what I want to do is I want to get a particular age. Okay. So I will simply say get age over here like this. And what does it do? It simply says user1 dot age. Or even I want to find year, date of year, what exactly is the date of year for this particular user. So right now it's 2024, minus 30 is 1994. So I want to write a particular logic over here so that I will get its date of year, this particular user's date of year. This is what exactly I mean. I simply want to get the today's year. And how do we do that? We can simply use an object of JavaScript called as new date. So new date object is simply an object, a constructor, with help of which you can get all the details related to current instance of the time and date. And if I click enter, you can clearly see it gives me Saturday, October 26, 2024 time as well. And what is the grain meridian time and something like that, Indian Standard Time, right? So this new date object gives you everything related to date. There is a method on this new date called as get full year. Now, when I say get full year over here, and if I call this particular function, you can clearly see it gives you current year, which is 2024. So can I write something like this? Please return new date and then invoke this dot get full year. And then if I invoke it minus my user one dot age, do you think it's going to give me the current date of year for this particular John Smith user? Do we all agree that in this case, if I try to call my user one dot, if I try to call my user one dot get age like this, you can clearly see it gives me date of year for that particular user, which is 1994. Simple. Now, this is an example of an object oriented programming. Although you might say, sir, no, we use classes in that case. I will get to that. I will come to that later on. Okay. But it is a proper object, a simple object. Now, what was our requirement? Remember this statement, write down statement was that we want to create multiple users, and multiple users will have multiple data, and multiple data methods will be same, but user structure will be same but with different data. Is that a possibility here? No, there's not any possibility. So in this case, what I have to do is I have to go and create another user, and over here I have to give new data. So this is going to be Adfar, this is going to be Rashid, like this, and my age is 26. So let me simply write 26 here. Now over here I have created multiple users. So user one is here with same structure, user two is here with same structure. But you guys tell me, do you think this is an efficient way of creating multiple users? Like, let's suppose your requirement is to create 100 users. Will you start creating 100 variables, 100 objects like this, copy paste, copy paste, copy paste? You can do that, but how efficient is that? Very, it's not efficient. So we have to understand that we have understood that this is how we will drive our program with objects, but in order to create n number of objects out of it, we need a proper and best way, efficient way. That's why there is one logic that comes into picture called as factory functions. So basically what we do is, the first thing is we will not create our objects like this. So, sir, what will we do? We will simply go here and I will simply create a function. So let me put a comment here called as factory functions. And it's asking in the interviews as well, what does factory functions do? You will understand in a second. So I will simply create a function with the name create user, and I will give it some arguments. Now, first name, last name, and age. Do we all agree that these are simply normal arguments, nothing else? Like, we can create these normal arguments in any function? Of course, yes. Now, what is this function going to do? It's simply going to return an object. And in that particular object, I will simply tell it first name colon first name, second name colon, let's say, last name, and this last name will be exactly last name. Then finally, I will go here, last name colon last name. Third thing will be age colon age, right? And then finally, I will simply copy these two methods here, and let me simply copy these two methods and paste it here. Now, what have I done? What have I done here? I had created n number of objects and I cannot copy paste 100 times. But what I have done is I have simply created a simple function here. The function name is create user. It receives three arguments: first name, last name, age. And I simply tell it to return an object. Now, you guys tell me, whenever I call this function, what is it going to return? It is going to return an object. And what will that object contain? 5 key value properties: first name, last name, age, get full name, get age. So can I say that the function that I created, since its structure is same, every single time whenever I call it, it is going to return an object like this? So for example, I will simply go say constant user1 is equals to, and I will call my function create user with some parameters. Number one is John, number two is Smith, right? And number three over there is age, called as 30. In a similar way, control C, control V, I will create one another variable called as user2. So now when I say user2, I will simply put different arguments. Adfar, Rashid, like this, and then the age is going to be 26. So now think about it. Now think about it. Is this a better way of creating n number of objects, or is this a better way of creating n number of objects? Which way is better? And are you able to get an idea why this is called factory function? Like a factory in real life, a factory that actually creates the same product again and again with different material. That's it. So this is what we mean by factory function. A function that returns an object. It allows us, it helps us in creation of objects. So now whenever I will call this particular object, whenever I call this particular function, it's every single time going to generate a create a particular object. Now see here, I will call my user1. Now when I say user1, you can clearly see there is a function, object with these key value properties. Very good. If I call my user2, I can simply see again when I invoke my user2, I can see another object. Perfectly fine, well and good. Now, in a similar way, I can call three user one, four user, five user, six user, so on and so forth. Right? Give me a quick confirmation, sir. We understood what factory functions are. Quickly, quickly, quickly. Am I clear with factory functions? Perfect. Very good. So now, even if I go here, even if I call my user one dot get age like this, it is going to work. Even if I call my user one dot get full name, and similarly multiple methods I have here, so get full name like this. Even if I do this completely, it's going to work. Same for it's going to work for user two as well, and it's going to work for everything. But there's still a small problem here. Try to understand, we are solving a problem in a particular steps, and yet even if I do that step, there's still some problem that we actually face. What is the problem? The problem that you see over here, I might not be audible, right? Is there any issue? There's some network issue that I'm facing today. I'm not sure why. Am I audible, guys? No sound, stuck. I guess there's some network issue from my side, most probably. I think there's some network issues. Am I audible now? Hello, hi. I think I should be audible now. Now audible? Perfect, great. Okay. See, if you look at this particular function, the create user function that I have, the logic of get full name and get age, don't you think it will be same for every single object that I will create out of it? Like if I create user one, user two, user three, user four, user five, it is same for every single object. I'm not changing any logic. I'm not changing any logic, yes or no? Right? But there's still an issue. Can you guys tell me what is the issue here that I have? What is the issue in front of the programming that I have actually written here? If you look at this particular program properly, you will see there's actually an issue. What is that issue? What is that issue? Look at this particular program properly. If I go to the output, when I say user2 dot get full name, right? User2 dot get full name, you can see that it gives me John Smith, right? If I write over there John, again extra John, I think it should not work, but it's working. Let's see why. No, it's working. There's still an issue. Tell me why. Full name method only returns user one. Exactly. It returns only John Smith. But what is my user two? User two is Adfar Rashid, not John Smith. And yet, even if I go user two, user one, every single particular method is returning me the same thing. Why? Because I have actually told it over there for get full name, return user one dot first name, user one dot last name, similarly user one dot age. Do you see that? Even if I go here, if I write user two dot get age, you can clearly see user two dot get age actually still gives me the same thing. What is that? That is, there's an error. Why is that? Okay, my age is missing. So let me write age here. So if I write age here, you can clearly see it gives me for user 2 as 1994 as well, though it should give me 1998. What is the issue? The issue is I have actually used a fixed variable here, which is user 1. Now tell me, which keyword inside our JavaScript points to the object it belongs to? Which means when I actually call this particular variable here, this function here, it should point to user 1, the object that it's returning. When I call this, it should point to this object that it points to. So there is a keyword which allows me to point to the object it belongs to. And that's exactly what we have to do here. So I will simply go write this dot first name, this dot last name. Then I will simply go write this dot age. Now let's see whether this solves our problem or not. So now if I say user 2 dot get age, you can clearly see it gives me 1998. Now when I say user 2 dot get full name, it gives me Adfar Rashid. And when I simply go here, write user one dot get full name, it gives me John Smith. So now everything is properly working. This is what we mean by this keyword. This keyword points to the object it belongs to. And when we call it to user one, it should point to the user one. When we call it in front of user two, it should point to the user two. So it should point to the object it belongs to, and that's what will make complete sense over here. Right? Now, if you look at this particular method that we have here, the factory functions that I have actually created in this case, you can clearly understand one thing, that get full name and get age, the logic behind these two particular methods will be same for every single user that I will create. Whether I will create user 1, user 2, user 3, user 1000, user lakh, user million, it does not matter. These two logics are same for everything. Yes or no? Yes or no? This dot first name plus this dot last name, new day dot get full year minus this dot age. So the logic for every single particular user that I have actually created, it is same. The logic is same. But yet, if I go here and if I write user one dot get age, let's suppose, and if I try to compare it with my user two dot get age, what do you see here? You see it's incorrect. So when I write user one dot get age is equal to user two dot get age, and if I click enter over there, you can clearly see it's false. Now, what does this false actually represent here? Let's try to understand that. So let me try to open quickly my whiteboard. Allow me a second. So let's quickly open whiteboard. Let's try to understand when I actually wrote user one dot get age is equal to user two dot get age. Why is it giving me false, and what is the solution to this particular methodology? Let's try to understand that. Allow me a second quickly. Perfect. Pay close attention. At this point of time, this is what actually it means, that what we are creating user 1, we are creating user 2. But somehow at this point of time, if you closely look at this particular methods, you can clearly and all we can agree that right now inside my memory, user 1 is being created at one place, user 2 is being created at another place in the memory. And that is why this get age is part of this memory, this get age is part of this memory. Try to understand what I'm trying to say. When I created user 1, when I created user 2, they are independent of each other. I'm not actually telling them, hey, for user 1, there is a method get full name at one place, get that. And similarly for user 2, I'm not doing that. But although what I'm doing is I'm simply telling it with user 1, please connect its get full name with user 1. So I'm associating my get full name and get age or any other method like this directly to it in its memory location. And similarly for user 2. That is why when I actually go here and when I try to equate these two methods with respect to each other, you can clearly see it's actually false. Why is it false? Because they are separated, they are located in different memory locations, even though the method logic inside is same. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Yes or no? Give me a quick confirmation. If not, then I will try to repeat it in different way. Quickly. Right now, let's quickly try to revise what I actually said here. I have these two methods here, which is get full name, get age. If you look at this structure of get full name, this is the structure. We have a function in which I'm returning this dot first name and then this dot last name. Don't you think the same logic is for user 2 as well? Or similarly, same logic will be for user 3, user 4, or even if I try to actually go and write the logic for 1000 users as well, the logic for 1000 users will be same. I'm not talking about values, I'm talking about the logic, the structure of this method. Do we all agree with that? Of course, yes. In a similar way, the logic for this method is also exactly same. There's no difference between the logic of user1 dot get age here and user2 dot get age here, and similarly for hundreds and thousands users that I will create. So if the logic is same, what is the point of storing the logic at multiple places if the logic is same for all the users? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Yes or no? Do we guys understand what I'm trying to say? If the logic is same for hundreds and thousands users, what is the point of creating the logic at thousand places? Why don't we simply tell it to store the logic at one place? Now whatever object needs, simply go to that place and get it. Yes or no? I need a confirmation, quick confirmation here. Quickly done. Very good. That is why right now, since I am associating logic with user one, I am associating logic with user two separately over there. That's why if I go here and if I try to say user one dot get age, user two dot get age, it is false. Even if I try to go over there and write get full name, and then if I try to user two dot get full name, so if I write get full name like this, you can clearly see it's giving me false. Now you might say, some of you might have a little bit confusion. You will say, sir, of course it is supposed to give me false. Why? Because user one dot get age is 1994. User 2 dot get age is 1998. So the values are different. But see, over here, if you look at this particular statement, I am not putting brackets in front of it, which means I'm not calling the function, but I am actually seeing what the function itself is. I'm not calling the function. I'm not telling it put this dot first name there and return me the value that this function calculates. I'm not doing that. But I am actually equating the logics of these two functions with respect to each other. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? See, this is what I am doing. User one dot get full name is equal to is equal to is equal to. Compare the two logics. And even though the logic is same, yet it is displaying me false. Why? Because they are located for different users at different places. So what will I do in this case? I can do a little bit of tweaking in this case. I can try to solve it in a particular manner. How? In this case, what I can do is I can simply do a small change here. A small change here, which is I can get this particular function aside. I can tell it to not define this function here, but define it someplace else. Like I can go and I can define a function, although let me try to copy this whole thing. So let me copy it. Let me try to comment it. So we have a problem that 100 users are creating 100 logics, and that's not what we want. So let me try to paste it, in which I will not define these two keys like this, but I will define a function outside of this function. So I will simply say function, and let me create function get full name like this, like this, like this, like this. And over here in this particular function, what am I going to do? I'm simply going to say return this dot first name plus this dot last name. In a similar way, I will define a function which is going to be get age. And in this get age, what am I going to do? I'm simply going to tell it to return new date dot get full year minus this dot age. Wonderful, perfectly fine. And after that, in front of this get full name, I can simply call my get full name like this. Done. And similarly over here, I can simply remove this and call my get age over here like this. So what have I done? Instead of defining the functions directly in front of a key, I have directly defined the function in a global space like this, in a global space over here. And now if I need to call my user one dot get age or get full name, it still works. But how does it work? You will say one thing. That's sir, when I talk about this keyword in this particular function points to window. That's not how it works. When you call get full name here, and then it means simply you are placing this particular function over here. So at that point of time, this keyword will point to the object it belongs to. So this keyword depends on where you are calling it. So I am calling it inside this particular function, and it points to John, it points to Smith, it points to age. That's why if I write user one dot get full name, it properly works. Even also if I try to go write user two dot get age, it also works. But we are not here to make things work. We are here to make sure that our equality, it should not be placed in 100 locations for 100 users, but the logic should be placed at one place. That's what we are here for. So let's try to equate this. Now, when I try to equate my user1 dot get full name is equal to user2 dot get full name, you can clearly see it returns me true. So have we solved our problem? Have we solved our problem that arose few seconds back? Please make sure you like this video right now. Quickly tell me, guys, have we solved our problem? Of course, yes, we have. You can see right now, if I tell it that user1 dot get full name and user2 dot get full name is a logic and memory at the same place, you can all say yes. Why? Because I have now defined them in a global space. So instead of defining them directly in a factory function, I have not done that. I've defined them in a global space and then simply called it here, and you can clearly see they both equate and give us true now. Now on the same time, if I go and write user1 dot get age and user2 dot get age, if I try to equate them, this is also giving me true. So we have solved somehow our problem. The problem of creating same logic for 100 users at 100 places. That's not what's happening now. But what is happening? We are simply now defining our logic at one place, and every single time, whenever a new user will be creating, the same new user will call it at that place where it is defined, instead of attaching it directly with that user. So we have solved our problem. Give me a quick confirmation until now. Is everything clear that we have discussed until now in our first half an hour? Am I clear? I want every single student to type yes or no. Every single student to tell me yes or no. Quickly. I can see few yeses, not all of you. Right? Please, rest of the people as well, please put a yes or no in the chat quickly. Okay. We have understood this. We have solved our problem. But don't you think actually we have another problem here? And what is the another problem? Can anyone give me any guesses? What is the other problem that has arisen over here? We equated both of these methods. We found true, and yet there's another problem that actually arisen. What is that? The problem is that we have defined our functions in a global space. And don't you think we have polluted our global space? Because if we define a function in a global space, it should be called in global space as well. And yet, if I call my get full name directly, you can clearly see it gives me undefined. Similarly, when I call my get age directly over here like this, you can clearly see it gives me NaN. Why it gives me NaN? Because when I directly call it at that point of time in my global space, there's no key that is first name. In my window object, there's no key that is last name. In my window object, there's no key that's age. And we know if I call it directly inside my global space, it means tell me what this keyword points to. And in the global space, this keyword will point to the object it belongs to, which is window. And in window, do we have first name? In window, do we have last name? In window, do we have age? Of course not. We have age, last name, first name in create user in a particular object that this particular factory function returns. Over there, we have last name, first name, and age. And yet, if I call it directly inside my particular function, when I directly call these two functions in my global space, it does not work. It gives me an error. This is what we mean by polluting a global space. So we solved one problem and yet we came up with another problem. And that is polluting my global space, which is not a solution. So we should be able to find a particular solution that should solve my problem and yet should not arise any other problems. Okay, I hope that's clear. Right? Am I clear, guys? Am I clear? Give me a quick confirmation in the chat. Someone is texting me on WhatsApp that, sir, we did not understand this particular thing. Please repeat this one. So let's try to repeat it. Let me give a simple example here. What this actually means. Like why it should give me true, why it should not give me false. Let's understand that. And then I will come to this later on. Let's suppose, let me try to comment all of this code as of now. Okay. And let's try to understand what this problem means. Let's suppose I have an array. Okay. I have an array where ARR is equals to. In this array, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Done. Then I have another array a where arr2. Okay, and this arr2 is equals to let's say 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Done. Now you guys tell me, if I go here and if I write arr dot any method of arrays, let's say pop, and if I try to call this method here, you should clearly see it gives me, although there's 1r extra. Let me remove this, and you can clearly see as soon as I click enter, it gives me last value, which is 6. Perfectly fine. In a similar way, the same method can be implemented on arr2 as well. So pop method is a common logic for all the arrays. Do you think that when arr array first is created, at that point of time, pop method should be connected with it? Or do you think when AR2 is created, pop method should be connected with it? Or do you think pop method should be defined for an array structure somewhere? Now, whenever any array requires it, it should be called from that place. Of course, yes, that's what should happen. It should not be like if I create 100 arrays, with respect to 100 arrays, there should be pop method. No. But it should be somewhere there's a pop method already created, and inside that particular array's prototype methods, we should have pop at one place, not at 100 places. Yes or no? That's what should happen. That's why if I go write arr.pop is equal to is equals to arr2.pop, you can clearly see it gives me true. Why? Because the logic is same and it's defined at one prototype for arrays. It's defined at one place only. Because pop logic is same. And don't you think similarly over here for this factory function, I am creating a similar method which should be implemented on every object. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Yes or no? I think this is a very good example. You might have gotten an idea what I was actually trying to do when I wrote user one dot get full year is equal to user two dot get full year or get full age, whatever the methods were. Because the logic is same for every object, the method is same, everything is same. I'm not talking about what it returns, what the value it returns. In this case, it returns 6. In this case, it returns 9. But if I talk about the functions itself, function logic is same for every array. Pop is similar. Pop is same for every single array that we define. So when we try to equate them, they should give me true because they have to be stored at one memory location, not at 100 memory locations. It does not depend how many arrays have been created. Pop is defined for every array that we have. Similarly, we have this function here that I'm defining for this object. It should be defined for every object at one place, not at 100 places. I hope now it should be clear. Whoever texted me on WhatsApp to repeat this, I hope now this is clear. The rest of the students, please give me a confirmation. Quickly. Okay, moving forward. Let me try to comment these two arrays now because they do not serve anything. Now let's come here. Line number 44. Architect. Perfect. Let's understand this. So we have defined a factory function. Let me try to uncomment this quickly. So over here, I have defined a function. And this function is called a factory function. Why is it called a factory function? Because whenever I will call this function, it will behave like a factory and give me the same product. Give me the same object again and again, again and again with different properties only. Different values only. Now, I defined a particular function and I wrote logic directly in front of it. I defined a particular function and I wrote logic directly in front of it. But with help of that, if I do that particular scenario, you can clearly understand. Like if I do this scenario, we define a function and define the whole logic here. If I define a particular function, define a whole logic here, there's a problem. That every single time a user is created, this logic gets associated with it. This logic gets associated with it. But that's not how it should work. The logic should be stored at one place and does not matter how many objects I create. For every object, it should be stored at one place only. And now whenever any object requires it, it should be called from that particular memory. That's it. That's what we wanted. And somehow we solved that. We said that instead of defining our logic directly in front of that function here, we will define our function in global space. And now when I define the function in global space, it means they are defined at one place only, in the global space only. And now whenever I need to call them, I can call them. And even also, I can actually equate them as well. So if I simply go at user1.getAge, user2.getAge, you can clearly see it returns me true. Why? Because now they are not stored in different memory locations. They are stored at one memory location. Whenever you need it, you will get it. I hope this makes sense. Perfectly fine. Now, once I solved this problem, the tarika that I used to solve this problem is invalid. Although it's not invalid like it's not working, it's working. It's invalid in another sense. It is invalid because now, since I have defined this in the global space, I cannot call those two functions. And don't you think this is a problem? Because I have defined these functions in a global space and yet I am not able to call them. Because it is quite clear, when I call this particular function in the global space, this keyword will point to a different object, which is window. And guys, you tell me, yes or no, I need an answer. Do you think first name or last name or age, these three keys exist inside my window object? Do you think that? Do you think that? Of course not. They do not exist. They exist only inside a factory function. They exist only when you call a function and put define an object like this. That's why they are giving me undefined, undefined. So is there a problem now? Of course, there's a problem over here. That's why prototypes come into picture. This is the real and exact definition of prototype that I'm about to teach you. Go on the internet, find hundreds of videos and hundreds of things of prototypes. I will give you the exact thing what prototype actually means. Okay. Do you remember a statement in JavaScript where we say that everything in JavaScript is an object? Do you remember that? Every single thing in JavaScript is an object. Remember that particular statement? Of course, yes. If that is a statement, if and try to understand this, if that is 100% correct statement which says everything is an object, don't we all agree that the function that I actually created here, it's also an object? It is also an object. And can we confirm that? Of course, yes. I can simply go here. I can try to find out on this particular object function create user what are the key value pairs it associates. So I will simply say console.dir and then I will simply pass my create user with it. So when I say create user and if I click enter, you can clearly see it gives me function. But if I try to open it, do you see key value pairs associated with this particular object? When I say console.dir create user, find the full form of what dir means. But as soon as I do that, you can clearly see there are key value pairs with respect to this function, which is arguments null, caller null, length 3, name create user. But there is a key value pair which is a prototype and it's an empty object. Do you see that? Leave prototype aside. Leave prototype aside. Let's not talk about prototype. Let's leave prototype for us for 5 to 10 minutes aside. Tell me one thing. Do we all agree right now at this very point of time that this create user, which is a factory function for us, it is an object? Do we all agree with that? Very good. We all, right? So if this create user is an object, don't you think it will have key value pairs? Yes, sir, it will have, and we have seen few of the key value pairs. If it is an object, don't we all agree we can add key value pairs to it? We can add key value pairs to it. If it is an object, can't we add key value pairs to it? Of course we can. Let's try to add. So I will simply delete the create user object that I have. Please add a key value which is channel and put a value in front of it that's called variable verse. Please subscribe if you are new to this channel. Please make sure you do that. So if this factory function that I have here, if it is an object, it means on this I can directly add a key and I can associate a value to it. Of course, sir, I can do that if it's an object. Let me click enter. Done. And then finally, if I go right console.dir create user, and if I try to open this object, don't you see another key value pair was associated with it, which is channel, and the value of it is variable verse. Now do we agree it's an object? Now do we agree it's an object, that even if it's a function, it's an object? Do we all agree with that? I have proved you that because I have added a key value pair and then I have shown you that this function has saved this key value pair which I created was channel and the value is variable verse. Everyone should agree to that. Perfectly fine. If we can add a key value pair to it in this case, which is channel variable verse. Can't we add a key value pair in which we can store our methods? Instead of storing these methods inside a global space, can't we add these methods in a key which should be directly added on an object called as create user? Yes, sir, we can. Let's do that. So let me try to comment this quickly, this code. So let me quickly try to comment this code, all code here. And let me go here and let me paste this code. Okay, let me remove these two functions because they did solve my problem, but they created another mess. Let me try to remove these. Now, instead of directly storing it, these two methods here, what I will do is I will simply go here and I will simply tell it the create user method, the create user object that I have on this, create a key called as methods, and those methods will be itself an object. Those methods will be objects, and I will simply go try to put a function in it which is called get full name, and this is the logic in it. Now, what have I done? What have I done? I have simply told it at this point of time, the function that I have on that create a key which is methods. And that methods will be an object because if I was able to store few seconds back, channel is equals to variable verse, which was a string. I can store a number on directly on it. I can store an array. I can store an object. I can store anything in front of it. This time I have stored an object, and that object contains a key value pair, which is a method. Second method that I have is get age, and inside is get age. What I have simply return new date dot get full year minus this dot age. Now, instead of calling my get full name here, I can simply tell it, please call create user dot methods dot get full name like this. Can I do that? Can I do that? Create user dot methods dot get full name. Maybe, maybe not. We will see that in a similar way. I will go. I will simply tell it create user dot methods, and then dot and then get age. So if I can do something like this, do you think we have solved our problem? We will see that. I'm not sure, but we will see that. So over here, I will go now console.dir create user. And do you see now on the same function, I have directly attached a key value pair with the name of methods because that's what the code I have written here. And if I try to expand that, there are two key value pairs in it, which is get age and get full name. Yes or no? Have I attached a key value pair on the function which is an object directly? Yes, I have. And now if I even try to go here, tell it my user one dot get full name. And if I try to call this, you can clearly see it gives me John Smith. If I go and try to write user two dot get full name, click enter, it properly works. If I go write user two dot get age like this, it works. And if I simply write user one dot get age, it works properly. So what have I done? What have I done? Now this is something very interesting, which is that what I have actually done, I have actually understood the real essence of when we say everything in JavaScript is an object. This is what I have understood. I have understood even when I define a function, it's an object. And if it is an object, I can directly store key value pairs on it. And I have done that. I have created a key value pair with the name of methods or whatever name you give it. And in front of that, I have actually created an object in which I will create a two key value pairs, which is get full name, get age. And get full name is itself a logic, get age is itself a logic. And then the factory function that I had, inside that, in front of get full name, I have told it create user dot methods dot get full name, create user dot methods dot get age. And since that's what we have, and you can clearly see it's properly working. Basu is saying, please explain the methods briefly. First of all, this is just a name. You can name it adfer as well. Create user dot adfer. It's not like methods. It is simply a name to this key. Let's no. This is not same as prototype. I will come to that. I will come to prototype for a second. Just understand what I'm doing here. Let me quickly try to repeat what I did. Basu and everyone, do we all agree that this create user is a function? Yes, sir, it's a function because you have created a function. Then second statement, Do we all agree that this create user is actually internal object? Do we all agree with that? It's an object. Quickly, it's an object. Very good. It is, sir. Yes, sir. We all agree. Do we? I can see only few four people typing in the chat, which is very unfortunate. Do we all agree it's an object? Very good. If it is an object, can I put a key value pair directly on it? Directly on it. Yes, sir, I can. Very good. And similarly, what I have done is I have told it a function that I have. Please store a key value pair on it in front of which simply store these two functions, these two logics. And this is simple JavaScript logic. It's not like any too funny logic. Rocket science. It's not any rocket science. Simply on this object, I am storing a key with the name of methods, which is it internal object, and then that's what I am doing. Get full name, get age. Now, when a factory function is created, I am asking it in front of get full name, put create user जो एक object है, put create user dot create user dot name of methods which is internal object, and then that's what I am doing. Get full name, get age. Now, when a factory function is created, I am asking it in front of get full name, put create user dot name of methods which is internal object, and then that's what I am doing. Get full name, get age. Now, when a factory function is created, hey guys, am I audible now? There's a network issue from my side, I guess, but I think I have resolved it now. Am I audible? Am I audible? Perfect, great. I am, right? I should be visible now as well. Sir, you're not audible. Am I audible now? Perfect, great. Okay. Now pay close attention. Pay close. There's some network issues, unfortunately, today. I'm not sure why that is the case, but I have a proper stable network, but only today there are some issues. But let's not talk about that. Let's come here. So what have I done? I have simply on an object, I have treated this as object, and on this I have created a key value pair in which I have stored all the methods properly. Now, now, what was the problem that we were trying to resolve? The problem that we were trying to resolve was problem like this, that the methods are stored at one location for every single object or not. And if I click on enter over there, you can clearly see it gives me true. And if I go and click on user 2 dot, similarly for user 2 dot get full name, and like this, it should be also true. Am I now completely audible? Is there any noise coming from background? I think there is, my neighbors are cutting some grass or something like that, and that is the noise that you might be hearing, Aditya. But I think that can be manageable for today's class, right? And I'm sorry for this disturbance. It won't happen in next class, hopefully, but it's going to be for today, okay? But I think that should not affect that much. Is it affecting too much? Is it affecting too much? I think not. Perfect. Okay. See, so what have we solved? We have solved problems now. If you look at the previous solution, this was polluting our global space. Do you think now it is polluting our global space? Do you think this is polluting our global space? No, it's not. Because now we have found a particular way to directly store methods on the function itself, on the factory function itself, a function which returns our objects. So we have solved both problems now. We are able to get true in this case as well. We are able to get true in this case as well. But there's another problem that might have arisen. Although it's not a problem, it's simply a thought. You can see. If you look at this particular solution, this is a wonderful solution. Sir, wonderful solution because you have created a key on the function directly. And now this is a object-oriented programming, although we have function, but we have found a particular solution. But don't you think instead of creating our own key, of course, that's what we are going to solve now, Said. Instead of creating our own key, what if I tell you JavaScript has already kept this in their mind? JavaScript has already kept this in mind that instead of you creating the key for every object, I will myself give you a key which is prototype. That's what prototype means. Nothing else. Methods is key. Then what is the value? Value is equal to ये है ना value. क्या हुआ Basu? What is the issue? This is the key, right? This is key name. This is the value equals to this. I'm not sure what the confusion is. Simply, I am creating a key in front of which I'm storing an object. And then I am accessing this get full name. I'm telling it, any create user, there is a key. And then there is a method called as get full name. Right? This is the value. Done, perfectly fine. Now, what was I trying to solve? I was trying to solve two things. Not pollute my global space. Number second is that my logic should be stored at one place, which we have resolved both. We have resolved both the problems. But there's one another point. What is that point that we have? What is the point that we have? The point that we actually have is in order to store our keys, in order to store our methods, the common methods that were for all of the objects, I actually have created myself a new key, which you should not do. What if I tell you, instead of creating your key and storing methods inside that key, JavaScript has already taken care of that, and that's what we mean by prototype. If you look at this particular console.dir create user, you can see now on this particular object, I have created common methods. But don't you think there's already an object which is prototypes? Yes or no? Don't you think we already have a key value pair on this object, which I have not created, but JavaScript has already taken care of that, which is prototypes. This is what we mean by prototypes. So that we can store common methods in it. Are you able to find the connection? Are you able to connect the dots that we have actually started from the very first session of this today's session? This is what my intention was, to actually give you an idea of what prototypes is. If I had to teach you just prototypes, I could have directly started prototypes on the very first minutes. What prototypes mean? But the problem was to solve two things: not pollute our global space, and also make sure that the logic is stored at one place for a factory function that returns objects, multiple objects, how many we want. Am I clear? Am I clear? So now instead of telling it create user dot proto common methods is equals to this. What if I will simply tell it create user dot prototype, and then every single place common methods I will replace it with prototype. I will simply go replace it with prototype. So now when I go here and call my same function, now the same prototype, if you look at this, now the same prototype contains two methods, which is get age, get full name. Get age, get full name, something like this. Am I able to understand what I'm trying to say? Yes or no? Am I able to understand what I'm trying to say? Yes or no? So now instead of creating our key, common methods key, why would we do that? Because JavaScript says, hey, you don't have to do that. Let me give you a key, and that's prototype. So every object that is being created contains a key called as prototype. And in that prototype, you can store your methods. In that prototype, you can store your methods. That's it. Okay. Yes, Pratimesh, what's your doubt? Please put that in the chat. Now, if I even go here in the console and if I try to call this get age, it properly works. If I go here, call this user 2 dot get age likes, it properly works. And similarly, my full name and another thing will also work. Any difference between prototype or our own name? You say, do you mean that any difference between your prototype and common methods? Is that what you mean? If that's what you mean, there are a lot of things that we are not we are yet to discuss. Wait. Here, prototypes is a key, but it is a key which is already created by JavaScript, and JavaScript has already created this key with every single object. Pratimesh, you will get the answer of that in few minutes only, right? Because there are a lot of other things which we have to discuss. Patience. But I think until now, everything is properly discussed. Everything is properly understood. Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes or no? If we have, we will take a break of 10 minutes now. And after that, we're going to move forward with this discussion. I will give you 10 minutes of time. Take a note of this all code and try to understand what we actually discussed from very first minute. Don't leave the class. In the 10 minutes, think about what we discussed and come up with doubts. Come up with doubts. That's your homework in these 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, I need 5 to 10 doubts at least from every serious student. So do not leave the class. Stay here in the break. Think about this code and then see what we have discussed. It has been a story, right? We actually created our users. Let me give you a quick revision of all the things that we discussed. We have understood that I will define an object in which I will store our key value pairs and I will store our logic directly. But there was a problem. If we start creating our objects like this, we have to create hundreds of users and we have to write a lot of code, which is not a proper solution. We came up with a solution called as factory functions. We said that we will create a function which will return an object, right? And when we do that, there's a problem that these two logics, whatever logic or whatever methods we have inside the factory function objects in this manner, they will be associated with the objects individually in their own memory space. That's a problem because logic is same. So why would we want them to be stored at their own space? Why not at one place for every single object? And that's why we came up with a solution that we will actually put these two functions in a global space. And we did solve our problem. When we defined our two functions in a global space, we did solve our problem. We said that now they are actually stored at one place only, and whenever I will try to equate user1 dot user2 dot user3 dot full name with each other, they will always return true. Why? Because they are stored at one place. And that's why we came up with a solution. That's why a problem arises, which is even though we solved our problem, but it polluted our global space because we cannot call them in global space. That's why we understood that even though it's a function, but it's also an object. And on this object, I can store a key value pair. And the key value pair which I stored was common methods, like this, right? We stored a key value pair called as common methods, our own key value pair. So we said on a function, we can create our own key. And then this is the value pair in which I will store our methods. And then I also said, if we do that, then get full name in front of this. Now I will tell it, go into create user function method object. In that there's a key called as common methods. Inside that there is a key which is called get full name, which means inside in front of this whole thing, it will be entirely replaced by this function. Simply this whole thing will be replaced by this particular function, and we solved our problem. Now my global space is not getting polluted, and now our also one another very important point, which is we have our logic stored at one place. That's it. But we understood, instead of our own key, instead of creating our own key, what if JavaScript itself gives us a key, which is called a prototype? And inside that prototype, we can also store these methods. Now, what is the prototype essence in our programming? What are all those things? We will discuss that after this break. So we will take a break of 10 minutes. And exactly after 10 minutes, I need at least 5 to 10 doubts from all of the students. So please make sure you ask doubts properly. So let me try to create 10-minute timer and then we will take a break. Yes, we have same thing encapsulation. This is encapsulation actually magnetic because we are putting everything at one place. This is what we mean by encapsulation. Absolutely. So do not leave the class even in the break. Think about what we did and then we'll come back. Okay. See you guys exactly after 10 minutes. Guys, hi everyone, welcome back. I hope I'm audible as well as visible. Am I? Hey guys, hi everyone, welcome back. Hello, hi everyone. Hello guys, hi. I can see only Aditya typing in the chat and Pradnya. So please put something in the chat so that I can understand we students are active and not. So let's see how things go. But I need few yeses in the chat, at least 20 yeses. Come on. Shall we start again, guys? Shall we start again? Shall we start? So, guys, I can see only 4 people active in the chat, which is Aditya, Pradnya, Sukhjot, and Anil. Right. So let's rest of the students are not. So let's start our class again. And I'm not sure whether we will have our tomorrow's class now or not, but let's continue. Let's complete today's class now. Okay. Okay. See, look at this. So we have defined our function. We have found a way of attaching our methods directly on a particular object or a particular function. We have found a method for that. Now I will try to comment all of this code because there's a new way of understanding the things now. See, this is complex. If you look at this particular coding that I have done, this is little bit complex here. Now let's try to solve the same thing. Okay, let's try to solve the same thing. You can see I'm simply telling I'm creating a function in which I'm telling it to return an object. Then I have key value pairs, then I have functions, and then those methods are stored in a particular key which I myself create. So this is something a little bit complex here, right? Which I do not want. Let's try to understand one small thing. I have a function, normal function. Let's suppose I simply go and create a normal function. Leave everything aside. Let's define a function called as greet, like this, like this, like this, like this. And what it does is it simply returns. What does it return? It simply returns hello, a string. Now, if I go over here and call my greet function, you can clearly see it will return a hello. Simple. But there is a keyword which we actually use called as new. New is the keyword. And where do we put new? We put always new keyword in front of a function. For example, there's a greet function that I have. And when I call this, whatever this function normally supposed to return, it will return that. In this case, it returned hello. But the same function, when I actually put new keyword in front of it and call the function, now it behaves in a different way. How does it behave? Let's try to understand that. When I call and invoke my function and put new keyword in front of it, you can clearly see it returns an object. That's why it's called constructor. New keyword is called constructor because whenever you have a normal function and you put a new keyword in front of it, it will construct an object around that function. Do we all agree that this is nothing but an object here? Of course, yes, it is object because this is a curly brace and this is how we create our objects. So if I try to expand this greet over there, you can clearly see there's no key value pair inside this. Why? Because I have not associated anything. Now, the conclusion that I'm trying to make you understand is this. If I have a normal function and if I call the function normally, whatever it's supposed to, it will return that. But as soon as you put new in front of a function invocation, it will construct an object around that. So the same greet function, when it is called with a new keyword, it is going to return an object, nothing else. That's it. That's what we have to understand. That's why if I go write constant, if I write user or anything, or I don't know what I wrote here, but if I write user here, and if I write simply greet in front of it like this, and then if I try to console.log my user, you can clearly see as soon as I do that and execute it, you can clearly see it gives me, what does it give me? It gives me hello in the output. But on the same time, now the same function which I have invoked, if I put new keyword in front of it, which means I have put a constructor in front of it. When I do that, you can clearly see as soon as I execute this code, we can see it gives me a object with a greet identifier with it. So we have returned an object out of it. Yes or no? Yes or no? Am I clear? Do we all agree what I'm trying to say? Give me a quick confirmation in the chat. Now we have understood whenever I will invoke a function, if I put a new keyword in front of it, it's going to return an object. Now, if I say console.log this keyword, what does console.log this keyword over here mean? So if I say console.log this, what will this point to? If I call this particular function with a new keyword in front of it, what will it print me in the output? Tell me that. What will it print in the output? That's what my question to all of you is. What will this keyword point to? Don't you think, even if I let me remove these two things, don't you think if I actually call this greet function directly, at that point of time, you can clearly see this will simply point to window because I am calling this function directly. But as soon as I put new keyword in front of it, I know that the greet function will actually, when we put new in front of it, it is going to construct an object. And don't you think this keyword will actually point to the same object? And you can see it points to the same greet object which it constructs. So new keyword constructs an object and it points to the same object. Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes or no? And if this points to the object, it actually returns when we put new keyword in front of it. Don't you think I can put some arguments in it? So this dot x is equals to hello. Then this dot y is equals to bello. Now, when I do that, we can clearly see as soon as I call my new greet, we have actually constructed an object over there with two key value properties x and y with hello and bello values. Why? Because I have told it this object that we have on that create a key called as x. Put hello in front of it. There's a key, there's an object which is this. Put in front of a put on top of that y and put bello in it. So you can clearly see now. And if I call my greet directly, it does not point to anything. It points to window. And now you can clearly understand one very important point at this point of time. If I call my console.log, if I call my window object like this, and if I try to see what this window object is, you might see x, y there because I have added these two things. Maybe, maybe not. Let's try to figure out that. If we can see x, y, www, how is there any x, y? I think not because we have to call it in that case. So let's call this. So I will simply go here and call this function like this. So let me call this function here. And now if I call my window object, so let me say window.x. And if I say window.x, you can clearly see hello. If I say window.y, we can clearly see window.y is bello. Why? Because now I am adding these two key values on this. So now they have added x and y on window. But if I simply put new in front of it, if I simply put new in front of it, are they now part of window or are they part of greet object that it constructs? What are they part of? Tell me quickly. This x and y that I have defined, what are they part of? If I say window.y, there's no window.y. If I say window.x, there's window.x. But if I say greet.x, is there anything else? No, of course not. Why? Because I have not put it in front of a variable. So let's store it in front of a variable. So let me say constant p is equals to this. P is equals to new greet. So now if I simply go say p.x, if I say p.x, you can clearly see it's hello. If I say p.y, you can clearly see it's bello. So can I say this is nothing but a constructor? Whenever you define a function like this is what we mean by constructors. This is what we mean by constructor. So whenever you see in a new keyword in front of anything, you just understand it's a constructor. I am trying to construct a particular object. Simple as that. I hope new keyword is completely clear. Is it? Is this clear? Right? If it is clear, can I pass multiple arguments to it? So first name, comma, last name, comma, age. Then I can simply go say this dot first name. So this dot first name is equals to first name. Then this dot last name is equals to last name, the argument last name. And similarly, this dot age is equals to age, like this. Perfectly fine. Wonderful. And after that, I will simply go tell it, please create user one. User one is equals to new greet. And now if I try to call my user one, you can clearly see it's an empty object. Although there are three key value pairs, first name, last name, age, and they are undefined, all of them. Why? Because I'm not passing these two arguments. But I know I am telling it on user one, this keyword on user one, create a first name. On user one, create a last name. On user one, create a age. Now if I pass my arguments, let me pass alpha, comma, let me pass Rashid, comma, let me pass age, which is 26. Then I will simply say constant user2. And this user2 is equals to what? Let's say new. And then I will simply call the same function, which is greet. And let me simply pass arguments. What is it? Let's say enil. Then comma, second argument. Let's say vatsha. Anil vatsha, like this, right? And then finally, the third argument is, let's say 22. And we all can agree now, we have constructed users out of a particular function a far better way. Have we? Is this a better way of creating a particular object, or is this a better way of constructing an object? Over there, I am using a term called as creating. Over here, I am using constructing. This is what we mean by constructor functions. So let me comment as well. This is called constructors. Which is the better? Constructors are factory function. Constructors are factory function. Constructors. Of course, constructors is the best way. Now, if you look at this, we have created three key value pairs, first name, last name, age. And I've passed arguments over here, and we can clearly see we have constructed our objects. But now I want to put these two methods, like get full name, get age. I want to create these two methods. Where can I add those methods, those three methods, or whatever methods I have here on this particular constructor? I can simply tell it on my greet dot prototype dot good full name, please create a function like this, in which you are going to return this dot first name plus bracket this dot last name. Similarly, I can simply tell it over here on my greet, please go and access its prototype. On that, create a particular method called as get age, and in front of that get age, please create a function, and that function will be an anonymous function like this, in which I will simply tell it like this. Now if I go here and if I tell it my user1 dot get age, and if I simply say user1 dot get age, you can clearly see it gives me 1998, because that's what the answer is. In a similar way, if I go right user2 dot get age, you can clearly see it's 2002. And if I look at the code now, this is what we have actually found our final solution as. That we will create constructor, and on the constructors there's a key, because we know if I try to go here, say console.dir, and if I simply try to tell me what is greet function key value pairs are, we can clearly see there is a particular prototype actually, and inside that prototype we have actually created get full name. Now tell me, are they inside prototype of user one, or are they inside prototype of greet? They are inside prototype of greet. This is what we mean by prototypes, and we have already understood in that first half session what prototypes actually mean. Yes or no? Please make sure you like this video and you subscribe if you are new to this, okay? So we have understood what constructors are. We have understood that whenever we call a function and in front of that function we put a new keyword, it behaves differently. It returns an object. Write it down on your rough copy. That in front of a function call, if I write new keyword, it will return an object. It will not return whatever it's returning normally, but it will return an object. And this keyword inside that particular function will actually point to the same object it returns when we put new keyword in front of it. And if it returns object, we can add key value pairs associated to it, like this dot first name, this dot last name, this dot age. And if we have to add methods, those methods are actually added on the particular greet On their prototype called is get full name, get age. Even if you go here and let me try to go and put console.dir1 user1, and if I click enter and open this object here, you can clearly see there's a prototype here as well, but not the prototype which was on function. It's square bracket prototype like this, and there is get age, get full name. And the constructor we have, the constructor for this is the user one was constructed from a function called as greet. So user one was constructed from a function called as greet. And if you open that, you can clearly see it has a prototype, get full name, and all those things that constructor function has. So this constructor is a function which we defined here. Right? Am I clear? Am I clear? Do we understand what constructor means? A constructor. This user one is constructed from greet. User two is constructed from greet. So Pratimesh is asking a doubt. Yes, already we have set them inside that function methods first name dot first name, and here in constructor we have not to add get full name inside greet. I'm not able to understand what you said, what that means. Okay, please rephrase that. So I hope you have completely understood that when we say all these things, how easy it is to actually understand what prototypes mean. But how many among you still feel that this is somehow difficult? How many among you feel that even though we understand things, but this is somehow a little bit difficult, that we have to, instead of whenever we have to construct something, we have to create a constructor, and inside your prototypes we have to add our methods. How many of you feel that this is little bit difficult, although not that much difficult, because if your concepts are clear, everything is clear. Now remember, if you think this is difficult, do you know that this whole thing, the in later versions of JavaScript, this whole thing was replaced by one particular structure called as class. If you ask me, this is what class is. The backbone of class is this. This is what classes mean. This is what classes mean. Simple as that, nothing else. Let me show you exactly what classes mean. Inside of a JavaScript, there's a concept of classes. Let me define a class. This is how we define a class. We write a class keyword. And then we give it a name. Let's suppose the name of this is create user. Then we simply put a curly brace. This is what the structure of class is, create user. And in this class, create user, multiple things can happen. We know what class is. If we don't know, it's okay. Ignore what classes mean. What I'm trying to make you understand here is that all of this which we here did, this is exactly what classes were created for. To create it in a different lines of code, we write all of these things. Instead of doing that, we will simply have one structure in JavaScript called as classes. Right? Now tell me one thing. If it's a class, and this class is exactly what this is, this thing, if you look at this, it contains two things. One is constructor function, another one is prototype functions. Similarly, this class says, if you need constructor, create a constructor like this. There's a method with the name of constructor. Like this, in which this is going to construct something for you. You can simply pass arguments to it, but let's ignore arguments. I will simply tell it. This dot first name is equals to what? Is equals to Adfar. Then semicolon, and I will simply say this dot last name is Rashid, and finally I will simply say this dot age is 26. Allow me some time, Pratimesh. I will read it in a second. Then it says, if you look at this, we can simply go here and we can simply put the same constructor methods here. But why would we do that? We don't need to do that. There are two types of, although three types of methods, which we will later on see, maybe if we discuss classes. But in classes, we have two types of methods, especially. One is called a constructor. Constructor is with help of which you will construct values around it. Second thing are called a prototype methods. Over here in our functional programming, whenever we have to define a prototype, we write greet.prototype.getAge. We write greet.prototype.getFullName. But over here, we will directly write the method name, which is getFullName. So when we say getFullName, and then inside is getFullName, I can directly write my logic, and that's going to be something like this. And what is it going to return? Return this dot first name plus this dot last name. Then in a similar way, I will simply go write getAge, and then over I will simply go write getAge, which is like something like this. Even though, although I can go here and I can write create user dot prototype dot get full name, create user dot get age dot this, I can write that here as well. But JavaScript says, अगर वही करना था तो classes क्यों बनाए? So it says that now this create user that I am directly going, whatever methods you write directly like this, I will put it in prototype. Whatever methods you write directly like this, I will put it in prototype. So these methods, they are called a prototype methods. This is called a constructor. So this whole thing which we defined here, this whole thing, they are actually created inside a particular structure, a blueprint called as classes. Called as classes. Now look at this. As I said, this classes is nothing but actually the representation of this whole thing. If you look at this whole thing is nothing but a class. So this thing that I've highlighted, it's exactly like this. That does not mean, don't you think that should mean that create user is a function, even if we can prove that? So if I go type of, and I will simply say type of create user. So let me go say type of create user. You can clearly see if I click enter, it gives me function. So this is what exactly I was talking about, that when we talk about classes, it's exactly what this is. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Yes or no? Yes or no? Am I clear? Are you able to connect the dots? What my intention of today's class was to actually make you understand what classes are. But behind the scenes, you need to understand that we have a function called as constructor function, with help of which, whenever we call that function, put new keyword in front of it, it's going to wrap up an object around that. And that object will be pointed by this keyword here. And we can add properties to this like that. And now this becomes a little bit messy, because whenever we have to add a properties to it, we have to add a properties in prototype. And instead of that, JavaScript says, why don't you directly use a class? And inside that class, directly create a constructor function, because this is a function. It has a reserved keyword. It's not like it's a random name. No, it's a constructor. With help of constructor, you can attach properties to the object you create. So how do we create an object? I will simply go here and I will simply try to copy the same thing. So let me go here. Let me say Control C. Although let's try to comment all of these things. Let me try to comment this. And then I will simply go say, I will say constant user1 is equals to what? Is equals to new. New what? New create user, because it's a function. So when we put new in front of a create user, what does it return? It returns an object. And if it returns the object, it has to attach properties key value to that. And for that, automatically constructor is called. So constructor is a method which will be automatically called as soon as you create an instance of it. This is what we mean by objects. Objects are also, the definition of objects are instances of a classes. Instances of a classes. Instances means that you have defined a class, you create a new instance of that class, and you create an object out of it. But don't you think we already have been doing that? We already have been doing that in our previous cases. Of course, we have been. So you need to understand that new is not for classes. No, they are for functions. Because class itself is a function. So we have constructor function inside a class over here. And you need to understand, as soon as you create user1, this constructor will automatically be invoked. So if I go here, if I write, let's say, I will simply go say console.log, and I will simply say console.log adfer. As soon as I do that, you can clearly see adfer is in the output, which means constructors for the instance are automatically invoked. Constructors are such methods which are automatically invoked inside a particular class. You do not have to invoke them. Otherwise, we know whenever we define a method or a function, we have to invoke them. We have to invoke them. But constructor is a method which, as soon as you create a class's instance, as soon as you create user1, it will be called. And if I go here, if I simply say constant user2 is equals to what? Is equals to new. And if I try to call my create user again, you can see again two adverbs in the console. Why? Because constructor was called for this, then same constructor was called for this. I hope this makes sense. I hope we have understood what classes are. So classes behind the scenes are functions in which we have constructors and the methods that support that particular class to execute a particular logic. And we have those constructor methods. These are, sorry, prototype methods. These are prototype methods. So if I go here, if I simply say console.dir, and if I simply say console.dir create user like this. And if I click enter over here, you can clearly see it returns me a class create user, but there's a prototype, and inside that prototype we have get full name, get age. I will remove that. It was just to give you an idea what constructors are. I will remove that, put arguments there. That's what I'm going to do now, Basu. And I will come to your doubts, Pratimesh, in few seconds. Give me a second. So over here we have understood that when we add our properties like this in a class, they are actually added on that create user inside your prototype. That's why they are called prototype methods. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? If I go here, if I simply say, and do you see any constructor method here? Do you see constructor for this create user? No. But if I go here and if I write my user one, and if I write my user one, click enter, if I try to open my, you can clearly see as soon as I say console.dir user one, you can see it gives you constructor, which is create user. And there it is been constructed from the create user function. And now you can see there's a create user called as class create user. Simplest thing that. Simple as that. Every object contains prototype. And when we talk about the classes, they are nothing but the functions itself in which they contain two types of methods called as constructors and prototype. There's a third type of method on class called as static methods, but that's not here important. Am I clear? Now I can also pass arguments to it. So I can simply go write first name. I can go write last name. I can go write age. And then I can simply say, please and please go here and remove this and make it equals to first name. And go here and make it equals to last name. And go over here and make it equals to age. And then I will pass my arguments. Number one argument is Adfar. Number two argument is Rashid. And number three argument is 26. In a similar way, I will go here, write John, then comma Smith, and then comma, I will say 65, whatever. Now, if I go here and if I call my user one, then it should properly work here. So if I write user one, giving, you can see it gives you a particular object that is curly brace, first name is Adfar, last name is Rashid, and age is 26. The idea is not the whole agenda of today's class is to understand new keyword constructors, whether you understand it like this, whether you understand it like this, and the whole point is to understand prototype. These are the three things. And you guys tell me, give me a quick confirm in the chat whether we understood these or not, whether we understand what prototype mean, whether we understand factory functions, whether we understand new keyword called as constructor, and whether we understand what classes are. Am I clear? Am I clear? I want all of the students who were here from the very beginning to give me an answer to this. Quickly. Done? Perfectly fine. Very good. Moving forward. So now if you remember our previous class, I showed you one very important point, which is promises. And what was the syntax of promises? First of all, you need to understand one thing. There are a lot of concepts in object-oriented programming. This is not whole thing object-oriented programming, because my intention was not to teach you object-oriented programming. My intention was to teach you few things here, okay, which I have taught you. But if I talk about object-oriented programming, there are a lot of things which you have to go through. Lot of things. Like we have to understand getters, we have to understand setters, we have to understand call, bind, apply, we have to understand inheritance, we have to understand encapsulation, we have to understand polymorphism. Maybe few of the things we will understand, at least getters and setters, that they are very important, because for React especially they are very important. Call, bind, apply, we will try to understand, they are very important for JavaScript purpose, and for your what is this called, for your JavaScript, they are very important. For your interviews, they are very important, which we will understand in one of the classes. We will have one class for miscellaneous things, in which we will discuss all of these things. We will try to understand all of these things. But as of now, we will understand only this much inside our object-oriented programming. I will teach you, since we have 14 minutes left, I will teach you one extra thing, which is our new date object. I will go and I will create a file with the name of new date.js. Inside JavaScript, there's an object, a constructor called as new date. And you guys tell me one thing. If I say constant and I will simply say date is equals to, I will call my new date. According to you, this date that I have called here, what is this date supposed to be? Is it supposed to be an object? Is it supposed to be a function? Or is it supposed to be a class? I will talk about that, Basu, in a second. The date object that I have, this date is an object, is a function, or is it a class? According to you, the first answer, although it's all of these three, but what about you? What do you think it is? It's a function, right? Because I'm invoking it, I'm putting brackets in front of it, and it's a function. But don't you think we already know when we put new in front of it, it makes this date as object? Yes or no? When we put new in front of it, it constructs the function and it returns the object out of it. Don't we all know that? Of course, yes. Now, when we say, if I say console.log date, okay, and even let me execute it, you can clearly see it gives me a date called as 202410, something like this, whatever the time is, it gives me. Although this is Green Meridian time, not in Indian Standard Time, something like that. That's why it's uh, 5 5:30 Piche. The time is 8:02. Although if you see right now, it is 11:50, something like that, right? Although it's 6:20, sorry, not time is 6:20. The time is 6:20, right? It's 5 5:30 घंटे पीछे. On the same time, if I try to show you, teach you the date object here, since it is in the browser itself, it's connected to the internet. And if I try to go here and try to see what the new date will return, you can see everything is properly. So new date like this, if I try to invoke it, you can clearly see it gives me date properly. Okay. Now, there are a few methods that you can use on this date object, like to local string. So if I use to local date string here, and if I try to execute this, you can see if I try to execute this here, we can clearly see in our VS Code, we have only date here, 26 10 2024. So this is one way of just getting date out of the date object, because when we talk about this date object, it's complete with time, it's with objects, it's with date, it's with grand meridian type, it's with what is the time zone and all those things. But if you simply want to get date out of it, you can simply get to local date string and it will convert into string. Another one here is similar, there are a lot of other possibilities. So another one is that we have to date string, okay, to local string, that's something like that, to local string, not date string, but to local string. And if I try to execute in this manner, I guess, so it should give me with time as well. So you can see the difference between this method and this method. This gives me only date, this gives me date as well as time. Done. Now, what are the, and then is it always going to be like it will return me the current date? No, it depends on you as well. So when we talk about this date object, it can receive an argument as well. It can receive an argument of date as well. So for example, I will simply say 20/12/2024. You can simply go over here and give it your own date as well. Sometimes you want to store your own date in a particular program. And if I execute this, you can clearly see, although it gives me invalid date. So what is the format? Please try to find out format of arguments that we can give. So the argument, now it works. So basically, this is what is it called? Month. This is day. This is particular year. Now it works properly, and you can clearly see how much it gives me, right? So we can store our date like this, and there are other formats as well. That's one point. Now the most important point about date is there are two things that we can do. We can use two types of methods on date object, either set or get. On a particular date object, we can use two types of methods, as I said, called as set methods, get methods. So I can simply go here, say console.log, the date that I have, please get me. And when I say get time, and if I try to execute this particular thing, let's see what it prints. It gives me something, a very good number, 17299, something, whatever the number is. It gives me a very big number. But what does it mean? Always remember that whenever on a date we use a method called as get time, it will return me number of milliseconds. But from where? Because this is returning me number of milliseconds. But if I try to convert this milliseconds into a particular day, from where exactly it's giving me milliseconds? It's 1/190/70. 1/190/70, not 12 a.m. 1/190/70, 1970. Since from them, how many milliseconds has spent? That's how many milliseconds it gives me. You can simply go here and you can simply try to divide it with what? With number of hours, sorry, number of seconds in a day, sorry, milliseconds in a second, then into number of seconds, into number of minutes, into 24, like this. And if I try to execute this over here and give the output, you can see it's 20,000, 2020. Now, if you convert it, divide it 365, convert it into a number of days as well. And if I execute it, you can see it gives me 54 years. Now, see, minus today, minus 54 years. What is that? That's 90/70, right? So you can completely understand that whenever we talk about date.getTime, it will give me number of milliseconds from the 1 January 1970. Since then, how many milliseconds has passed? That's how much it's going to give me. After that, I can go write console.log. I can go write day dot get full year. Now we have already seen get full year, and if I execute this, you can clearly see it gives me get full year, which is 224 current full year. Similarly, Control C, Control V. I can go write get full year, and in this case, I will write get my time. Although time is already mentioned, get day. Now when I say get day, and if I try to execute this, what does it give me? It gives me 6. And today is Saturday. Sunday, Monday, Friday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, right? So it gives me 6. The number starts from 0 in terms of days. So 0 is represented by Monday, 0 is represented by Sunday, then 1 Monday, then Tuesday, 2, and so on and so forth. That's why Saturday is 6. Similarly, we can call a lot of other methods as well, which is called month, get month. And if I talk about get month, what is today's month? If you look at it, it's going to be November, and you can clearly see it's giving me 9, right? Although the date is 10, right? It's October, sorry, right? It gives me 9 because months also start from 0, 0 to 11, not 12, 1 to 12, 0 to 11. The point that I'm trying to make you understand is that when we talk about date, with respect to date, JavaScript treats date object very seriously. And from a date, you can get anything. Even if you want to get milliseconds out of a date, you can get that. You want to get seconds, you can get that. Minutes, you can get that. Get hours is a function. Get minutes is a function. Get milliseconds is a function. Similarly, when we talk about date, you can set as well. You can update as well. So, for example, if you look at this particular function, let me say I will give some date to it. Let's say 02 slash 06 slash and then 2024, right? So I have given a date something like this. Now, if I try to execute over here, you can clearly see it gives me that we have what's the output? We have 1 2 1 2. So 1 is the what is this? Get month. Get month is 1. So that is 1. Get days 2. What does it mean? So we have to find out what this means because I have to do a calculation, little bit calculation here. So this second month, day 6. So 6 February 2024. That's what it means. That's what this date means. So it receives month first, then day, then 2024. Let me try to confirm that. I will give it 25. Because if 25 works, then it's a day. Otherwise, it's a month. So let me try to execute this. It properly works, right? It properly works. You can see this is nothing but a day. This is month. Perfectly fine. Very good. Now, I want to update this. So let me try to comment this code here, and I want to update something. So I can simply say the date object that I have, please set. I can use set method. Set my date is equals to, or instead of set my date, I will simply say set my year, full year. Set my full year to what? Set my full year to, let's say I will give it a number which is 2000. And then if I simply go say console.log, my date object that I have, and if I go here and execute this, you can clearly see now the date that I have is 2000, not the 2024. Similarly, you can set month, similarly, you can set day, similarly, you can set hours, similarly, you can set anything that you want. So that's what my conclusion for this date object is. So when we talk about JavaScript, JavaScript treats date object very seriously. And there are a lot of functions, a lot of methods that are implemented on date object, that are implemented properly on date object. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Please make sure that you like this video right away. Please share and subscribe if you have not already. Please do that because now I need subscribers. We are going to start React very soon, and for that I will make some announcements on my LinkedIn page or wherever I can. So I need a little bit help from your side as well to make sure that we have more 50 to 60 students in our React batch. Okay, but we have at least 3 classes on our JavaScript remaining, at least 3 classes, 3 to 5 classes, not more than that. And then we will start React, and I will start posting from today. I will start posting for React, or maybe from tomorrow. And I need all of your help to make sure that there are more students that join our JavaScript batch. Tomorrow's class is cancelled. I'm not sure about that. I want to take the class, but I'm not seeing that much response. I'm not sure what. This week we will have our doubt session. That's a promise. Basu. This week we will have our doubt session. Most probably Thursday. Most probably, but we will have doubt session. Promise, okay? Now, I have also launched an assignment in your Google Classroom, please make sure that you attempted that assignment, all of you. Another thing, how do we generate our logic? How do we create our logic? Talk to yourself. For example, I have to create a calculator application. That's what the assignment is, right? Calculator. So what I will do is I will first of all create a user interface. Always talk about approaching a front end application only in two steps. Number one is, please make sure you create the static design first. So you will create static design 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. Then star hash division subtraction plus is equals. So create this. Then let's suppose I have to perform the addition of two numbers. So what I will do is I will write my JavaScript logic like this. Okay, this is what I have to do. When I click on this, get the value of it. So this can be an input field with type, button and value too, right? So this is what we will have, right? So we will read the value of it. Then this will be plus. Now whenever this is clicked at that point of time, I will select my arithmetic operator, because JavaScript knows what arithmetic plus operator means. So whenever this is clicked, select this operator. Then when I click on this, get the value. So get the value with DOM methods, document dot get element by ID, whatever the element of the ID of this element is, find its value, get the value. And once you get it, then simply when I click on it, please give me print the value, make the inner HTML of this particular p tag which is empty here, make the value here. That's what the logic is, simple as that. So देखो Diwali है, so we will maybe take a doubt session after that or below before that. We will see. But definitely I will try to make sure that this week we will have our doubt session. So what was I trying to say? You have to get the value out of this, use the JavaScript to find the operator. When I click on this, get the value, display the result over here using DOM methods. Even take help from the internet as well. It's not necessary that you will learn creating logic immediately. No, watch a particular what is this called, any session on the internet, see how calculators are created. It's not necessary you won't do that. You can do that absolutely, because that's how we will learn to create your logic. बाय डिफॉल्ट पहले से किसी को नहीं आता है, कि मुझे भी नहीं पहले से आता था, बट अब अगर मैं कोई भी लॉजिक लिखना होगा, आई नो हाउ टू एटलीस्ट अप्रोच, right? So read the value, get the value, put the arithmetic operator, then put it inside HTML h1 tag or any tag there and display it. And then you can use up to what decimal point you want to give the answer and all those things. You can implement all of those things, whatever you want. It's completely up to you. Am I clear? Does it make any sense? Right? So let me try to share the addends. मैं JavaScript में भी एक प्रोजेक्ट पढ़ाऊंगा, don't worry about it. So let me share the addends link in the comment section. Please make sure that you submit the addends, okay? And honestly speaking, see, I will tell you one thing. I need 50 students in the class. That's it. And I can see right now 36 students, but at least 10 to 12 are here because of the addends, for the addends only. Nothing else. They're not here for me. They're not here to learn. They're here just for the addends, because I have said that in the 5 minutes I will share the addends link. From tomorrow, in between, at any time, I'm going to share the addends link, not at the end. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. Addends link will be shared at any point of time, and every day there will be a different link. Whoever marks the addends, they will be marked present. That's it. That is the rule. ठीक है ना? We will have our tomorrow's class hopefully, and in between of 2 hours, I will share my addends link at any point of time, and every single day I am going to create new links, not the same link again and again. So if you are here, your addends will be marked. If you are not here, your addends will not be marked. Simple as that. Okay. Please make sure you put a comment after this video is ended, because you do not. All the serious students, Basu, Arka, Sukhjot, Anil, and all of Chakresh, Sadi, Said, Sukhjot, Shubham, Kumar, Kavya, please make sure, Ankit, you put a valuable comment after this class is done. Okay. So thank you so much, guys. See you in the next class. That's tomorrow. Hopefully, we have completed today's session. Give me the feedback of today's session, by the way. Give me the feedback of today's session. Ashu, you as well. अब समझ आया ना कि न्यू कीवर्ड क्या होता है, समझ आ गया ना कि प्रोटोटाइप्स क्या होते हैं, समझ आ गया ना कि फैक्ट्री फंक्शंस क्या होते हैं, ठीक है ना? So there will be an interview session. What does that mean? There will be interview held properly. Yes. पूरा क्लियर हो गया ना? परफेक्ट है, ठीक है, बढ़िया है, डन है। हाँ, यस 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 यस, perfect, Shubham. Thank you, guys. Bye, everyone. Please do comment, please share it, please like it, and let people know that we are doing something here. ठीक है ना? Thank you so much, guys. Bye, everyone. Have a great day ahead. See you guys. Bye.